O'clock on a Tuesday afternoon in Newcastle, Australia. It is 8 in the morning in Manchester, England. And this is the only place in the world where the only thing separating the two worst teams either side of the world is the bye that beats everyone. And where the biggest calls are made on the future of the British game. Yes, this is the Sideline Chat podcast, the one-stop shop for rugby league. Along with Mark Hendry, I'm Connor Marcellus, and today it is your NRL Week 8 debrief. The weekend of Anzac Day is upon us, but before we get into the action, let's do something a little bit different this time around. Let's talk about some of the biggest, how would I describe these, Mark Hendry? Biggest non-news stories, or just the experts and the journos that cover the game having a controversial opinion about what transpired, particularly the result between the Knights and the Panthers.
Can I say all of the above? Would that cover it all?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, all of the above then. Biggest headlines or biggest non-headlines, and like what the journal's have been saying over the weekend that we has gone. There's been quite a few of them.
So in case you missed it, Penrith, remarkable comeback win in Golden Point to win the game 16-15, Nathan Cleary having to kick a second field goal to win it.
But who else would it have been, seriously?
But other than that, it's what happened afterwards. The Sunday shows, the Monday night panel shows basically said, where to now? Just like commentary, 24,000 fans out at Newcastle, or however many there were actually out there, and be just like, we need to change Golden Point.
Yes.
But do we really need to change it?
Yes and no, in my opinion. Look, Golden Point, yes, you go for a field goal, no doubt about it.
It's the easiest option, but it's also the hard... Well, I shouldn't say it's the easiest option, because nailing the field goal is often the hardest option to do.
Because if you miss it, you get
it's a 20-meter restart, and then you give the opposition a chance to try and go down the other end and nail a field goal.
Maybe it should be golden try.
Yeah.
No field goals at all. A try. Just pure try. Or have it like they do in the finals.
Well, go to extra time first, try and solve it in 10 minutes. It's 5 either side, and then if they can't solve it, then go to Golden Point.
Yes. Or, like what they do in the soccer, it's a bit different. Instead of going like soccer's 20 minutes either side, but whatever. 5 minutes each way, still locked up, penalty goal shootout.
So you reckon if the scores are locked at 90 minutes on the clock, then the referee blows a penalty, where would you have it?
Well, no, not blows a penalty, but like in the soccer, they just like go from the spot and first to X them out. Like, I know it's out of 10, but if you get 3 out of 5, there's no point of the other team like keep on going. So something along like that. But you probably say you wouldn't do it from straight in front because that's too easy.
So say from the 40, just make things realistic.
Yes, but probably not from the 40. Maybe from the side, not quite the sideline, but maybe about 20 metres in from the side, 30 metres out.
So the way you're trying to frame it, if the penalty shootout was to be a thing in rugby league, which already sounds like a very... not a very conventional idea.
But that real test of goal kickers, would it not?
Yeah, well, you pay $1 million for a halfback like Hines or Cleary. Yeah, okay, there is merit in that. But
and there are some sharpshooters like Cleary, Hines, Reynolds, and the likes.
But the models that some people in the press have been pushing or suggested, which sounds... It honestly sounds that hard to believe it. Here's Buzz Rothfield from the Daily Telegraph on NRL 360 last night.
Get rid of him.
Yes, we all know he's your favourite.
No.
Look, he has his moments, but more often than not, it sounds so ridiculous. Like, last year, during Women in League round, he was calling for the reintroduction of the second referee.
No.
What, so you can just reintroduce another, 30 to 40 penalties per game for the least disciplined team in the side? Remember, under 2 referees in 2018, the Tigers gave away in excess of 200 penalties in a year.
Yeah.
200 penalties. Yeah. Since going back to the one referee model with 2 solid years of data, the penalty count has dropped so the most ill-disciplined team, at the most, gives away 160. So we've managed to cut up to 40 penalties out of the game from 2 referees down to 1. It's not perfect, but it's a definite improvement.
Bloody oath
Well,
it is.
what he's suggesting here, this is what he's proposing. So, he wants to revamp the competition points awarding system.
Oh, God, here he goes.
So, if you want to win, it's no longer 2 points. It's now 4 points for a win.
No.
Golden point win, you get free. For a loss in golden point, you get 1. And draw, you get 2 points.
I get if you lose in golden point, because if it goes in golden point, both teams do deserve a win.
But do they, though? Do they really deserve a win if you make it to golden point and someone goes on to win?
Well, true. But what about a draw? What was the point for a
1
draw?
point each.
Like how it is at the moment.
Simple as that. I mean, look, are you really going to punish the team that ends up playing better in the 10-minute window you're giving them to get that 1 point that can make the difference? Are you really going to punish them for that?
No, because they're already punished enough by losing.
And we saw in that draw or 2 weeks ago with Manly and Newcastle. No one was looking likely to nail a field goal, and they were buggered on their feet if they were going to try and go for a try.
Oh, bloody oath they were.
But is this the way? Do we just, double the points for a regular win inside 80 minutes? And then we just like, oh, you lost in golden point? Okay, Newcastle, here's another point for you. So it's just like...
No.
You just have to say things aloud to realise that sounds stupid.
Well, he is stupid.
But we got to be fair. It's not just Buzz Rothfield and the Fox. We're not Fox haters here. We do watch Fox League, and time to time we do watch NRL 360. So it's not just them. It exists on Channel 9 too.
Gus Gould will be against it. I can tell you that right now.
Actually,
I don't.
Gus,
for it.
years ago, had a different approach or a proposal. This is from someone he's retweeted on Twitter, that he proposed what is called a meritorious competition point system. All right, get your pen and paper ready, because this is going to get complicated. So, you get 5 points for a draw after 80 minutes. So, a draw...
So, no golden point.
After 80 minutes, you get a draw, you get 5 points straight away. If you lose in golden point, you get 4. If you lose in regular time by 1 to 6, you get 3. You lose by 7 to 12, you get 2. You lose by 13 to 24, it's 1. And anything over 25, you get none. All right, you get confused yet?
No, but it's
it's about to get any better.
Oh, God.
So, that's all for a loss. It's 5 points if you get a draw after 80 minutes. 6 if you win in golden point. Right, and then by the same logic, 1 to 6 after 80, it's 7 points. 7 to 12, it's 8. 13 to 24, it's 9.
And anything 25 plus is 10?
You get 10 points if you win a game by scoring 5 tries or more.
Can I say Buzz Rothfield is a lot more better than what that was?
So
that's freaking more confusing than the
So it's
freaking
just
hip drop tackle rule.
Well, I think,
Sorry, but it is.
Well, to be fair, Buzz's model sounded a lot more straightforward than the Tigers. The Tigers' attack this year. Yep, found a way. I know I got to stop doing that, but it's just why? Why do we need to talk about this?
No. None of it's going to happen. It's all talk. It's all garbage. Won't happen. End of story.
20 years ago, or 20 odd years ago, there was the conversation of what do we do to get a proper result rather than teams just drawing every other week in that situation?
Well, in a way, if both teams are good enough to win, they should not have to go into golden point, and it should be end of 80. That's it.
But that was the way it was before the 2000s. If the scores were locked at 80, sorry, if the scores were all locked up after the end of 80 minutes, there was no golden point. There was no none of that. It was just a straight draw, walk away. It's just like, and then of course the fans were probably thinking, "Oh well, that sucked. We've got another draw. Can't we just get a win or find a solution?"
Yeah, but a draw is not a loss, though.
In the finals, you got to remember,
in the finals, yes, I get, because you have to have a winner.
Finals run in 1998, they played 2 back-to-back finals against Newcastle and Parramatta, right? Both of those had to go to extra time just to get a result out of it, but that was necessary.
The finals are necessary to do that.
I like extra time, to be honest. And they had to change the rules 7 years ago because of having Golden Point decide the grand final.
Yeah.
Well, they had, because of Thurston's field goal.
7 years ago, wow.
They had, 8 years ago actually, 2015. But they changed the rules for the 2016 season. So, if you were locked at 8, after 80 minutes, you're all locked up. You had to play extra time before Golden Point. We've only had 3 finals that actually went beyond 80 minutes.
And that was a
semi-final in 2016, Cowboys and the Broncos. No surprise.
No.
Following year, an elimination final between the Cowboys and the Sharks, or Sharks and Cowboys.
Wasn't there one last year?
And then the qualifying final, surprise, surprise, it was the Sharks and the Cowboys again.
Was that last year?
Yep, that was last year, second versus third.
What's the common denominator in that? A lot of Sharks?
Well, the Cowboys play all 3 of them in one.
There you go, Cowboys. But what a stupid rule. Not going to happen. Keep it as is. Let's move on.
But it's like, participation trophy. You really want to give Newcastle a point for
losing?
Yes. Is that what we're going to do now? Are we just going to reward losers?
No. Because,
look, does it suck to lose a Golden Point? Yes,
it does.
It
would be,
but live with it.
Personally, we both have been on the receiving end of Golden Point losses.
It's something,
especially in finals footy.
Everyone has to live with the fact that if you lose by a point, you lose all up, regardless if it's the end of 80 or you have to play until 100 minutes or so, like that one time in 2010.
Yes.
But we can't keep fiddling with the point structure. I know we've banged on hard about this, but seriously, these models sound wacky.
Like I said, Rothfield is a lot better than what Gus's was.
Well, that was from years ago with what Gus, whether or not he still believes that, I don't know, but that's...
Keep it as is, that's it.
And this is why some people disagreed with the preseason challenge or just tuned out, because it was like, so how do you tally up all the points for number of tries scored, offloads, yada, 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 at a certain key...
Well, they've got cameras that can just tally it all and all that stuff.
But imagine being a statistician and having to sit down and tally up everything as you go forward. It must have been a statistician's worst nightmare on game day in the preseason.
Well, you have
challenge.
one person per game, or 2 people per game, but yeah.
All right, we've ranted about Golden Point for long enough, but I honestly think, unless you can convince me there's a better model, which there isn't, and even though everyone hates Golden Point when they're on the receiving end, which... I'll admit, I would think a majority of us do.
Flashback 2018
Don't screw
finals.
around with that. No, that was just regular time. That didn't go to Golden Point.
I know. Oh, we're sorry. But still.
But there's no other way. Cop your medicine. You just weren't good enough. And I'm sorry for Newcastle. They let Penrith go downfield. That did happen. Cleary got in a good position. And he iced it. Yeah. It could have gone either way, but it landed.
Yeah, that's typical Cleary fashion, though.
Now, Jack Wighton, he's also popped up in the news as of late.
Not for a bad thing, though. This is a bit of a shock announcement. He has retired from representative football, so that's from State of Origin and Australian Kangaroos. Big shock.
It did come out of the blue, but to be...
Pun intended.
Yeah, whatever. But I think the points is what I'm trying to say is, did he even look likely to get picked for New South Wales this year anyway?
Maybe not in the starting, not in the starting 13 or
in the camp, all up. In the camp, all up.
In the camp, maybe in the camp, just to be there to have that experience for the having an experienced player with the younger players in the camp to guide them a little bit. But other than that, no.
I mean, there was a question, and again, Buzz Ruffield was on the case with this one, just through Fox Sport. Or it says he mentioned that the focus... Well, he talked to Buzz Ruffield, right? So he said he wants to focus on winning a premiership. That's his main focus now. And
Well, I've heard he's spending time with family as well. And club level, yeah.
Yeah, that has popped up as well. He wants to win a premiership, and, that's now a big advantage for the Raiders to have someone who maybe would have gotten picked. Now he's going to be there for them in the Origin period. So,
but they still lose Josh Papali'i if he gets selected.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know, but he's just like when he was talking to Buzz, he said, I've been thinking about it for a while, and then we won the World Cup. It was a great way to go out. So he sort of
going out on the high.
He said he's content with everything he's done, and he was very proud to wear both the green and gold and the sky blue.
And he's won Origin series.
He's been part of 2 winning State of Origin series,
and now he's won with the Kangaroos.
And he's got a World Cup win. So I mean,
so he just needs a premiership. So yeah, that's understandable.
2020 Dally M Player of the Year. He's got 2 Origin series wins under his belt. Not many people can say they've got a World Cup under their belt as well. So that's pretty nice. Nice to have.
It's just the elusive premiership.
Yeah.
It came so close in 2019.
It comes as he's currently off contract or hasn't activated his player option yet.
He's got a couple of weeks left.
Canberra's tabled $4 million over the next 4 years, which will take him to the age of 34, 35.
Career.
And the Dolphins, we don't know what they're offering yet, but I tell you what, ballsy move by Canberra to go to the NRL and tell the salary cap auditor, this is what we're paying Jack Wighton. We're willing to pay $1.1 million for him over the course for a year, over 4 years. And if anyone else tries to lodge a submission, that's what we think he's worth at the moment.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. Personally, when he went to test himself on the market, that was a surprise move as well. I personally think he will be staying in Canberra. He's, from what I've heard from Paul Kent on NRL 360, Canberra been good to him in his juniors and all the way through.
Not to mention that, as you're right, they've kept the faith with him through his myriad of off-field dramas and arrests.
Exactly. They've stuck loyal with him. They've looked after him, and he's done it well. He's trying to get them to a premiership. So I don't see him moving from Canberra at all. I think he's quite happy down in Canberra.
I was listening to a little bit of this as well. I think this is a wider problem with the Canberra Raiders. They're enjoying the bye this weekend, but they did lose their head of recruitment, very tragically. They lost their head of recruitment as he passed. Most of their squad is on the wrong side of 30, Wighton included.
Yes.
And they have a problem attracting talent at the moment.
Well, that is true.
And this is strictly due to geography.
Yes.
As I think Paul Kent was saying this a couple of weeks back. Who actually wants to move to Canberra when you've got an
freezing cold in
opportunity to stay
winter.
on the Gold Coast?
It is seriously freezing cold in Canberra in winter.
Now,
which is when the league is
saw
on.
the Raiders make the finals and the grand final off a very different idea. British imports was basically
Would I be used to the
dominating
cold weather?
But you look at the Raiders squads, particularly between 2019 and 2020, up to 1/6 of them were British imports.
John Bateman, Elliot Whitehead,
Josh Hodgson, Ryan Sutton, and then George Williams thrown in there as well.
Yeah.
But that was the strategy from the Raiders. They looked to Britain to try and fill holes in the squad that needed to be filled. I mean, think of it. They first lured Hodgson and Whitehead out across 2015, 2016, even from Catalan and Hull KR. Hodgson was practically lauded within the space of the year as the second best hooker in the game behind Cameron Smith.
True.
2019, they revamped the roster to sign Ryan Sutton and John Bateman Bateman ended up being Dally M's second rower of the year.
True.
Then they decided, this is actually going pretty well for us. So then they decided to go to Wigan and lure George Williams out here, and then low-key sign Harry Rushton in 2021. So you're now up to 6.
True.
But then things just fell apart with that
And they've all
British
gone,
experiment.
and they're kind of gone here, there, everywhere.
Whitehead's going to retire probably within the next year or two.
Yeah.
Williams returned to Warrington. Bateman returned to Wigan, only to end up returning out here.
To the Tigers. Hodgson's gone to Parramatta.
And Rushton returned to Huddersfield as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much the lot.
So there's pretty much none left.
But if they
Whitehead.
lose Wighton, they got a very young spine when you take Wighton out of the picture as the
So
senior
who would
man.
you put in there to replace him, though? That's the problem.
Well, the problem is the first choice for Canberra, Xavier Savage would be a fullback. He's played less than 50 games.
And he's
Jamal Fogarty barely played 50 games on his own, but he's solid, you have to say. As a
Very
halfback,
solid,
he's
yeah.
solid. They did have Danny Levi starting the year, but then he went injured. Zach Wolford's come back into the frame. He's got less than 30 games under his belt. And then there's Tom Starling, I think less than 100 for him as well, or maybe round about 100.
Yeah.
You look at every other spine that is set up in the league. What do you think the one thing would be in common? Look at Penrith, Edwards, Luai, Cleary, Kenny.
Young spine.
Most of them would have had 50-plus games
Oh, yeah.
of experience. I mean, Cleary, he's been playing at this level for 7 years.
It does not feel like 7 years.
But believe me, it has been 7 years since Nathan Cleary first played. Dylan Edwards, 6 years. Jerome Luai, as a regular 5'8", because he's been floating around since 2018. It's about 5 years for him.
Yeah, about 5, yeah.
You look at South, you especially look at the Broncos, how well they've done on luring Adam Reynolds out.
And that's been a big thing for them.
I mean, look, the Broncos have got a young spine as well, but they got key
Walsh,
men in
Reynolds,
that spine
and
that
Walters,
have
yeah.
more than 100 games. Reynolds is that key man for the Broncos.
I think
He
Reynolds
goes
is over
down-
200 games, I think, or need 200.
He goes down, they're in trouble. You look at Melbourne. Melbourne have done very well, turning players over when they've left. Of course, the Big Four was always going to be a big risk, but look at them now. Munster, basically the best 5'8" in the game.
That was meant to be a fullback.
Jerome Hughes,
Also meant to be a fullback.
he transitioned to play halfback in the back end of 2019. Following year, he goes on to win a premiership as a halfback.
Yeah.
And then fast forward another 2 years after that, he's the Kiwi Test halfback.
Exactly.
From nothing. That is incredible. Canberra are at the other end of the scale. One of the youngest spines in the game. You take Wighton out, Canberra struggle.
Even when he's out suspended or injured, they struggle without him. And it shows.
And they got to start thinking of how they're going to address this going forward, because Papali'i, Jared Croker, Whitehead, we've already touched on Joe Tarpany, they're all locked in long term, but they're going to all probably retire by the end of all their contracts.
Yeah.
Corey Horsburgh is a good emerging option at the moment. He's been playing pretty
Hey,
good
Hudson
footy.
Young's playing a
Hudson
freaking
Young,
good game.
he's the future of the club at this
He's
point.
even talks about maybe Origin debut this year.
Well, I don't know. I still think there's one or two back rows maybe ahead of him.
Oh, yeah, but there was talks about that on the weekend against the Dragons. There was talks about his name could potentially... Not even if he plays in the set, like, not even if he makes his debut, but being in that squad, like, you know, the extended squad from 18 down.
Yeah, I could probably see that happening, but I
Just to
think
get the experience of being in the camp.
Olakawatu, for me, Hamole Olakawatu, I think, is a real bolter for a debut this year for Brad Fittler. I think
hope so.
he will be there.
Let's hope Greg Alexander agrees.
I thought him and Kuala Matangi were going to fight it out, maybe play together in that same side, but since Kuala Matangi went down,
Yep.
I've just sort of straightened out with Olakawatu. But that Origin conversation, we'll actually talk down maybe over the next 2 weeks before the sides get announced, and we'll talk a little bit more in depth with that. But that's something a little bit different. Now, into the main affairs of why you're all here. It is round 8 of the NRL, and mentioning Kuala Matangi, it's the South Sydney Rabbitohs and the Penrith Panthers opening up the quote-unquote Anzac round of the NRL moving forward.
So to start off with, Scotty Sorensen is back to replace Liam Martin, who did return against Newcastle, but is back out again with his ongoing hamstring issues. Lindsay Collins is back onto... Lindsay Collins, wow.
Wrong.
Lindsay
Sydney.
Smith has been called onto the bench, with Luke Garner being named as 18th man.
Two slight changes for the Rabbitohs. Of course, Keon Kalala-Matangi went down injured in the 36-14 win over the Dolphins. So Michael Cheekham makes a very rare start for Jason Demetriou, whilst Isaac Thompson is recalled into the side after missing last week, with Tane Milne going back to the reserve. So, Penrith, narrow 16-15 win over the Knights. The Rabbitohs really kicked into gear in the second half against the Dolphins.
Yeah, look, the Dolphins did put up a solid effort. They scored the first
Two
two
tries.
yes. And I thought, oh, here we go. This is going to be game on. But yeah, South's finally clicked into gear in the second half, and it was all she wrote for Dolphins.
Both the Dolphins and Newcastle had that one thing in common. They rattled what we think are the perennial contenders. I think there was a very poor mistake that led to Ewan Aiken's first try off a Nicarima bomb. That was it. And this was like in the first 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, South Sydney got rattled when the Dolphins scored first.
But then,
And then Marshall King goes out from dummy half. They should have been... If I'm Jason Demetriou, I'm telling my markers, Jeremy Marshall King gets the Dolphins on the front foot, and keep an eye out for who's a combination with the hammer. He jumps from dummy half, whether he bolts or whether he's trying to burrow his way over.
It's kind of the same with Damien Cook and Cam Murray.
Exactly.
On the other side.
They should have known that this might happen, that Marshall King might try and make a move out of dummy half. Now, you look at Newcastle's first try, Nathan Cleary was at marker, and for some reason, Stephen Crichton goes out instead of in, which just opens the hole up for Tyson Gamble to score through.
Yeah. That was a pretty easy, somewhat of an easy try for Newcastle, though, but when I heard that Newcastle scored and were actually leading against Penrith, I thought, holy shit, this could be an upset brewing. But that didn't happen.
Contentious moment in that, I think Campbell Graham's second try was a little bit contentious.
Was a little bit.
I mean, surely you would think Ewan Aiken was knocked off the ball there. Because, think of it, Ilias puts the bomb up, Graham's trying to chase through. He shoulders or pushes Ewan Aiken off the ball. He's trying to chase for a two. Graham comes down with it, the Rabbitohs score this or another try.
Yet again, the inconsistency of the referees, which has been a big talking point from the weekend.
Well, referee, remember, there's only one.
No, I'm talking about the round overall.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I suppose you could say. But they just got their numbers wrong defensively, the Dolphins. Kenny Bromwich went to the sin bin in a very ugly hit.
That was an ugly hit.
And it just... They got rattled. South rallied and allied. I mean, they did have to leave it until the second half to do something about it. But once the guns started firing, it was sort of rear view duck.
Yeah.
Trell Mitchell, I was sort of umming and ahhing between him and Walker again. But I've settled on the Trell. One try assist, 110 running meters, 6 tackle breaks, 1 line break, 1 offload, 1 goal line dropout, and 6 from 7 goals converted. And Nathan Cleary, I think, one of the big reasons Penrith got back into that game after half-time.
Yeah.
49 run meters, 1 try assist after the hair pull or penalty Tyson Frizzell
Which
gave
was
away.
controversial, apparently. There's talks about that too.
That try assist that saw Jamin Salmon go on the board, 2 tackle breaks, 1 offload, 1 40-20, 3 from 4 goals converted, and of course, icing those 2 one-point field goals.
1 to send it into extra time golden point, and then 1 to seal the deal.
Yeah,
Not even a minute into the game, into extra golden point.
So you saw that teams like the Dolphins and the Knights could hang in for long periods of the game, and given that these two are facing off against each other, this is yet another mouth-watering clash right here.
Very much so. But again, like you said last week, What is it with the Thursday night blockbusters this year?
I have no idea.
This is another Thursday night blockbuster. But I seriously think it's a flip of a coin. But to be quite frank with you, I think Penrith will get the upper edge.
The Rabbitohs flourished when the Dolphins were down to 12, I think.
Yeah.
Had the Dolphins rallied a little bit, it's sort of the leaders got together and say, come on, boys, we're still ill got this. Let's start playing the footy we know we can play and really stick it to these guys. It didn't happen, I think.
No.
Campbell Graham scores that try. They lose a little bit. Then the ricochet that led to Cody Walker's try off Branko Lee. It just sort of... that once their heads went down, the Rabbitohs just cakewalked them. There was no coming back from that.
Yeah.
And Kenny Bromwich-Sinbin didn't help either.
No. But yeah, the big loss with South Sydney had Keelan Collin Matangi. That's going to hurt South Sydney against a very, very good Panthers forward pack.
I think Penrith again demonstrated we keep talking about all the changes, but they hung in against Newcastle, who have been playing pretty good in patches.
They have been.
It's relatively well, to be quite
better than what
fair.
some people have actually thought they would be doing this year, to be quite honest.
Look, they hung in. They won on that game off the back of pressure on Hastings when the crunch time came along. If Penrith kicked off for Golden Point, Jackson Hastings would have been their first target to really go up.
Oh, bloody oath.
After. They actually successfully did a captain's challenge on a sin bin, I heard.
I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah, apparently that was the case. They got there was a case where I don't know which way the penalty went, but they got a captain's challenge on a sin bin and successfully challenged it. So they saved the sin bin from that.
There you go. That's a first for everything, isn't it?
And look, I think at the back end of that game, Newcastle lost their edge as well. They lost the cool.
Too many errors that cost them.
It was after the first Cleary field goal that Newcastle lost the cool when Fitzgibbon went a little bit loose as a cannon. And from there, you just saw the Panthers just walk away victorious. So I think that's exactly what they're going to do. It's going to be a real tight one, I think once again. But I think you look at what they'll do to Latrell Mitchell. They'll want to put all the pressure on Cody Walker at either end of the field. I think the Panthers will set themselves down. This is a big clash for them against probably one of their biggest arch rivals in the game currently at this point in time. I think Penrith walk away 1-6 again.
I'm going to say Penrith in this one 7-12. It'll be a very tight contest, but they'll unsettle the Rabbits a little bit, and that will put them out of rhythm and what they're used to, and that will force too many errors on South Sydney, and Penrith capitalise.
They just need to contain Latrell Mitchell early, and then they can work the middle over with their forward pack. That's how I think the game plan will work.
But then again, South will be trying to contain Cleary.
Now moving on, we're back up to the top end of our great country. The Parramatta Eels playing host to the Brisbane Broncos. I believe Kevin Walters has got the luxury of returning players for this one. Both Tom Flegler and Corey Oates will return to the lineup, which will see Keenan Palacia and Jesse Arthurs drop out of the side. Of course, Corey Oates broke his jaw in the round 2 win over the Cowboys, whilst of course Tom Flegler was concussed in the loss against the Raiders. That's it.
Yes. As for Parramatta, the home side, Josh Hodgson is back after missing last week's clash against the Bulldogs due to illness. Brendan Hands goes back to the bench with Makahisi and Makatoa dropping out altogether. Bailey Somerson is amongst the reserves after serving his suspension.
Big wins for both sides out of the weekend. The Broncos rallying back from 14-6 down at half-time to end up winning the game over the Titans 43-26. Whilst the Eels a solid 30-4 win over, and once again, yet another injury-plagued Bulldogs lineup.
Yeah, it was unfortunate for the Bulldogs, who went down. Avarillo
Jacob Carraz,
Carraz
did his
went down.
MCL first of all, so he's ruled out for up to a month at least.
But Carraz, Avarillo,
Avarillo was limping for probably a good hour of the game. It's just
but then come half time, chucked injections in and away he went.
Why did he even stay out there?
I don't know.
I mean, they had Josh Reynolds on the bench for a reason.
Hey, we said the same thing about Addo What they should have done is put Burton into the centres, Reynolds
Well,
into
that's what
the
Andrew
halves.
Johns was saying. Why I waste Reynolds on the bench? Just move Burton to the centres and put.
Well, that's what I
Reynolds
should have
out
done
on a
against
5'8".
who was it? South, but no, they chucked Jackson Torpenny out on the centres.
Well, I think they. Well, I mean, to be fair, Burton is the most important man in the side, so he probably has to stay in the halves.
But still, Reynolds is very, very capable.
5'8", hooker, yeah, centre. I mean, look,
No,
Benji
but
Marshall.
what I mean, like, yeah, that's what I mean. Like in the halves and that, like you could have easily chucked Burton out in the centres and put Reynolds in the halves. Easily.
Honestly, from that result, I think it was I wouldn't say it's disappointing for the Eels to win 5-1, but they should have actually won by a lot more. They should have actually won this game maybe by 40, maybe by 50. They could have easily piled on the tries against this much disrupted Bulldogs side.
Yeah, that is true, but they haven't been the best themselves this year too, Parramatta.
They're starting to click
They
into
were
gear
sitting
now.
second last on the ladder. Now they've shot up a bit, so...
They're starting to click into gear now. Having Junior Paolo back worked for all them because his ball movement is still top-notch. And the Eels' right edge was having a field day in the first half between Moses, Madison, and Will Penasini, who scored order tries, set up another one. They worked over that disfigurement with Alamotti and Torpenny as the centre wing pairing for that. I'll tell you what, Jade Knockenball. Like the idea in theory of having him on the wing, but that one error he made off the scrum in good field position.
Yeah, that was a bit of a boo-boo. But I know he knocked the ball was knocked on from the Dogs though, but he did save a couple of good tries. And nearly, if he managed to drag that ball in, he was
For the
gone.
intercept.
For the intercept, he would have been gone.
He might have bulked up over the last few months, having shifted into the forwards, but he still probably had a bit more toe on him than you realise.
But yeah, if he able to do that intercept, he was gone and Dogs are in. But he did save that try though. Yes, he knocked on, but it was looking to be a Parramatta try. But he did manage to save, and he did it a couple of times, really.
As for the Broncos, they were caught flat-footed against the Titans early.
Well, with Gold Coast being up at the break, I thought, well, hang on a second, this is not what I expected.
But I think the
Anyone
bomb that
expected.
led to Philip Sami's first try, they once again, the aerial contest let them down. This was something that was exposed against Canberra. They weren't prepared for the aerial assault. Well, it's the same story with the Tigers, how they conceded tries, off kicks. And
Yeah.
Sami, just in the right place at the right time to nail that taken try.
He had an absolute cracker of a game for
And then,
Sami.
of course, Alofi Khan Pereira. Does this bloke not stop scoring tries?
No, he just keeps scoring. I think his try rate is ahead of his game rate, or very close to it.
But the second effort, I mean, the first try, he got lucky because he got denied a third one. I think we can all agree on.
Yes, I agree.
But you can't strip the ball, or with two men in the tackle.
No.
And then the second one he actually did end up scoring was completely opportunist with the bounce of the ball right on full time.
Sometimes the lucky bounce, sometimes the bounce favours you and sometimes it doesn't. And more often it doesn't favour you, but this time it did favour them and they capitalised on it big time.
But I'll tell you what, though, the Broncos' heads did not go down because if this result was from 2 years ago, the Broncos would have just given up and had 50 put on them.
Yes.
But this Broncos side, now that Kevy's settled and, as they keep saying, he's found his feet as a coach and that's rubbed off on the players, the moment Herbie Farnworth scores that long-range try, the ball gets knocked down, Tapa'u picks it up, puts him away. The moment that happens, the Broncos just kick into gear, and they kick into gear fast.
Bloody oath they do. I mean, yes, I got Adam Reynolds there, but getting Reece Walsh back has helped big time again.
And speaking of Reece Walsh, he was the major difference for Brisbane in the second half, really laying it on. The try he scored where he just threw himself at the goal line, and then, of course, setting up Ezra Met and later on. So that one try assist, 120 run meters, 6 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, and 2 offloads, versus Regan Campbell-Gillard, 1 try where he carries 4 Bulldogs defenders over at once, 197 running meters, 9 tackle breaks, and a line break. If that's not Origin forward for you, then I am not Brad Fittler's selection panel.
Yeah, no, it was very solid effort there. That is worthy of Origin selection right there.
So the Eels get to return to Darwin since they were embarrassed by the Cowboys a year prior. They've met the Broncos as well previously in Darwin, and that result also went Parramatta's way.
So I was going to say, Parramatta tend to play really good up in Darwin. I don't know if they adapt to it.
Unless it's against the Cowboys, of which they absolutely suck ass.
Yes, but against every other club that's played up there.
Well, it's only the Cowboys and the Broncos they've really played, so you can't really say that, but
still, I don't know what it is if Parramatta acclimate. Well, Cowboys will be able to acclimatise to conditions better because they're up in far north.
Townsville and Darwin are pretty much comparable at this point.
Exactly. But Brisbane is different. I mean, Parramatta's different too. But whenever Parramatta play Brisbane, it seems up at Darwin, it seems to be that Parramatta get the upper edge because obviously they might acclimatise quicker than what the Broncos do.
I think with Paolo back, and I'm looking at that right edge because that's going to be the real battle. Madison v. Capewell, Moses versus Mam on that edge there. So I think if the Eels were to go one way, I'd be looking to go at Ezra Mam and pressure Reece Walsh under the high ball. Because the forward packs are pretty much even here. It's going to come down to a finesse of a kicking game and balance of the spine, to which I look at Parramatta's as just like, it's going to be an interesting clash, to say the least. Can the Broncos hold on to the top spot on the ladder, or are Parramatta getting ready for another charge?
I don't think... I mean, Parramatta will probably make the top 8, but I think they're maybe one game away of starting to make the charge. The rate that Broncos have been playing this year is just unbelievable.
Because this is a crucial window we've got to keep in mind for the Broncos coming up. Because they got to play Parramatta on Friday night, and then it's Melbourne, Penrith, and the Roosters, as well as South, all in quick succession.
They play Manly at Magic Weekend.
And Manly, they got to play Manly too. So they're playing some of the real informed teams at the moment.
True.
This is the beginning of a real big test to see where exactly the Broncos are on the pecking order.
That is true.
Look, if they don't handle the heat conditions well, because the Eels seem to have, as you said, most of the time have come up, they've actually handled the conditions pretty well. I think the Eels just sneak on home. And now they'll get their defence in order here, and I think they'll do a very good plan to contain Reece Walsh from really exploding. The Eels win this 1-6.
Look, I don't see Parramatta win this one, barring what I said earlier about Eels acclimatising to the conditions better than what Brisbane do when these two meet up in Darwin. It's just the form that both teams are in at the moment. Parramatta are starting to get into gear, but Brisbane have been flying pretty much the majority of the season so far. I say Brisbane bring this one home 7 points to 12.
So I'm thinking Parramatta to put 3 straight wins on the board. The other to say the Broncos remain, depending on for and against, at the top of the NRL table.
Yep. First of the Saturday games, we see the Canterbury Bulldogs taking Cronulla Sharks at Accor Stadium. The Sharks have got the same 17 yet again, with Dale Finucane still got 2 more games with his suspension.
A little bit of readjustment for Cameron Ciraldo in the back line. Somehow Jake Averillo manages to keep his spot in the centres despite playing on one leg. Still probably a bit more effective than the Pirate. Dec Casey now comes into the side on the wing, as does Brayden Burns on the outside of Paul Alamotti. So Jackson Torpenny returns to the reserves, and Jaden Ockenbaugh goes back to the bench as well. So the Sharks
got up over the Roosters.
Yeah, they downed the Roosters 20 He 2 points to 12, and like some of the other sides, they had to win it in the second half.
Yeah, they certainly did. The Roosters did put it on, like, challenge them early, but Sharks being at home, they just clicked into gear and home crowd, and that got them over the line, ultimately.
I think the one thing that really undid everything for the Roosters, it was the discipline for them again. The sin bins did not help the cause. Of course, Nat Butcher got charged with a hit drop, sent for 10 in the sin bin. Then the Cheese got sin binned. Surprise, surprise. Victor Radley binned for a third time now. So you have 3 sin bins in 80 minutes. No wonder the Roosters didn't win.
Well, no, but they all won at the same time either. They were spread out a little bit.
But that really hurts. And the Sharks capitalised each time there was a sin. In a minute, you look at every time that happened, the Sharks ended up pouncing when the Roosters went down to 11. Sorry, to 12.
Yeah,
and went to 11 late.
It certainly does help, though, like having that extra man advantage. And the teams know that. It's becoming a bit more of an occurrence thing, not all the time, but it's starting to creep in that the team that's got the lesser player on the field have been scoring more tries than when they, you know what I'm saying?
That's not all the time.
Not all the time, but it's starting to get a little bit more of a thing, because it's usually whoever's got the extra man advantage keeps scoring down at the same side or middle or wherever.
But it's seemingly with that one less player on the field, it's suddenly more opportunity to attack.
Yeah.
Because you've got one less man in the line you have to worry about.
Exactly.
But I think it was evenly poised between it. I think the Roosters, one try contentious, you'd say. Lindsay Collins not scoring. Personally, I thought he didn't even make the line and they were looking at it. The Cheese, very much a graze of chalk on that ball, you'd have to say.
Bloody oath.
Hey, but he did get to the line. Iron did the Cheese. But again, the sin bins did not help. And Nico Hines, just absolute statement he made in the second half. 10 minutes on the line, 12 all the score was locked out. Looking for a game breaker, here's your game breaker.
Yeah.
190 running meters, 1 try assist, 3 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, 1 offload that led to Matt Moylan's try for the Sharks, and 3 from 5 goals converted. That pretty much
Nico Hines is like the Iceman for the Sharks. If you need, or a big moment player, if you need him to step up when the game's in the balance with 10 to go or whatever it is, give the ball to him, he'll take control and set up plays and do whatever he does and seals the deal, really. Here's another one that if he's not in the starting 13 for Origin, he has to be off the bench.
Well, there's a question. Is it Jerome Luai or Nico Hines that lines up in the halves alongside Nathan Cleary?
To be quite honest with you, I would like to say Nico Hines. To me, he seems to be playing better than... I think Luai's been a little bit quiet this year, in my view. So you've chucked Hines there, but do you really put... they know what to start off debut and start in 13 before, so... Because they did put a first-time State of Origin player straight into his starting 13, but it has done in the past before.
Well, he did it with Fred. We've got to remember with Freddie, Jerome Luai was an Origin debutant, starting at 5'8".
Yeah, I know.
And Nathan Cleary, same thing. He was picked as the first-choice halfback alongside James Maloney, and he just hasn't looked back since.
No.
He has just gotten... This is what you do. You take the punt, and if they float, they'll be there until a better comes along or they're injured.
Yeah.
And considering that New South Wales has made Origin more competitive than the 8 years of misery that we call the dynasty.
To be quite honest, I think Hines will start over Luai. I know we're a bit too... I know Origin's probably about a month, just over a month away.
Yeah, I'd say that.
About 6 weeks, but we're still starting to talk about it already, but I think Hines will get there.
Well, it'll be a question of who gets there, because Matt Burton has been talked about as well after debuting in the centres as for games 2 and 3 last year.
Well, if
he's actually lined up at halfback for this one. Serraldo's swapping the halves around, so Flanagan at 5'8" and Burton at halfback.
But did you notice in the game too, they had Reid Marnie and Flanagan swap around? have Flanagan playing at hooker for a while, and then Marnie playing at halfback for a little bit. Don't know what the goal was there.
Unorthodox.
You did notice that though, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I just thought a little bit unorthodox that, given the situation, it didn't really change much.
No. But it's a bit of an interesting tactic from Serrato.
Didn't pay off.
No.
But I think if the Sharks want to smell blood in the water, and I think they will, I think they'll still be looking at Avarillo's side, right centre defensively. I think that's where the Sharks are going to focus all of their energy and efforts. And I'm looking Talakai up against Avarillo. Talakai is either going to run over the top of him, or he's going to put Mulatalo away in the corner.
Or even a size difference between Talakai and Avarillo.
210 running metres Talakai had, and a try assist.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Could he be in a frame for
Nah, I
Origin?
don't think he will.
Well, in the squad at least.
Flashed in a pan. If Freddie picks him, Freddie picks him, but...
In the extended squad, just to get experience in the camp, maybe?
Nah, I don't think he will. But
not in the 17.
I would want to be testing... If I was Craig Fitzgibbon, my message to Nico Hines and Matt Lawton would be, I want you to go left and focus all your energy on putting Avarillo under pressure. That would be my ultimate aim, and because that would probably be the same side Matt Burton defends on as well.
Probably.
So I think the Sharks win this 7-12 of practically full straight, and barring Dale Fanu, Ukin and Hines will probably open up Canterbury again. I think even though we've been a lot closer, we just can't afford any more injuries. That's just
exactly. Your depth is getting really tested. In saying that, that's what's going to cost the Bulldogs this game. They haven't got the starting thing. They're in a bit of an injury crisis. Sharks have been too good as of late. I'm going to say Sharks win this one 13-20.
Don't get me wrong. We're going to dig because that's what the Bulldogs have done when they've been in the stages where they have been playing well, when they got embarrassed completely by the back end. We just dug in against the top sides, but the bodies are really starting to mount up.
Yeah.
Up in the hospitals, where it's apparently the only one where we can't get any relief from. Talk about your healthcare under pressure. If you talk about building a hospital, I think Canterbury Bankstown's overdue for a bloody hospital.
I reckon.
Or dedicated just so we can get players out of there.
Turn a club into a hospital instead.
Oh, we probably are. We're probably the first field hospital in Canterbury Bankstown because we just have all our best players on the side.
Exactly. But, they'll come back eventually, and it can't be helped, though.
Just got to try and tick over as many wins against winnable opposition as we can. So, let's start next Sunday, I suppose.
Yeah, that's it.
Now, the other Saturday night game sees the Cowboys at home to the Newcastle Knights. Some big ins for Newcastle. Kalen Ponga will once again line up in the halves for Adam O'Brien after spending the last month and a half on the sideline due to his 4th concussion. So that will see Tyson Gamble drop back to the bench. Jacob Saifiti is also back on the bench after around about the same time, the 4-game suspension. Kurt Mann and Matt Croker swap positions in between Lock Ford and the bench, and Brodie Jones ruled out with a quad injury.
Just quickly at Ponga, he's playing his 100th game against his old club.
Well, isn't that perfect timing?
As for the Cowboys, Ruben Cotter will start at lock with Jason Talamalu, who faces up to 6 weeks on the sideline with a knee injury. Jordan McLean returns, which is Granville will revert to the bench, and otherwise unchanged side for the home side.
Now, the Cowboys, they got rolled in New Zealand by the Warriors 22-14. The bunker had to intervene at least 3 times involving the Cowboys.
True. But when doesn't the bunker intervene?
No, I meant after the Cowboys scored tries. There was the instance with Chanticle Klukstad getting sent to the sin bin for the shoulder charge.
True. Peter
Hiku being offside at a very crucial moment of the game with the scores locked at 14-all, and I think there was...
Was it Murray Talanki's try?
I think maybe?
Checking the side, if he got the ball down inside the dead-in ball line?
Did they award that try from memory?
They did. They ended up giving it to him because he opened the scoring for the Cowboys.
I think it just might have been in relation to the shoulder charge.
Maybe, I don't know.
But I think once again, the Warriors at home, they were down on troops as well, but
No Martin, no Egan, no worries.
They stood up again at home, where they haven't lost all year, to be honest, between
The cake tin.
yeah, between Sky Stadium and Mount Smart. They have not lost a home game to this point all year long.
Which is what is good to see. Brilliant to see.
But I don't know why they didn't pick Ronnie Volkman at 5'8" again.
No,
That sort of surprised me when I saw it, and we were talked about it. Dylan Walker named at 5'8". My main concern was, has Walker bulked up a little bit too much to play 5'8" again?
I think he has.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, he's proven to be a very useful lock forward bench utility type player.
We're seeing him play against the Knights a couple of weeks ago. He has bulked up, and I think he's bulked up too much to play 5'8".
But he still managed to perform. I mean, he had a couple of try assists, scored a try at a crucial part to the game as well. But the Cowboys just got dominated through the middle, and losing Jason Taumalolo didn't help their case either.
No, like, as you said last week, the wheels have kind of fallen off the Cowboys. They could have been starting to get back on track, but yeah, that doesn't seem to be the case at the moment.
Adam Fanua-Blake sort of set the tone for what the Cowboys were to expect in the first instance. He picks up 3 votes from me. He is the standout player for the Warriors. 1 try, 141 run meters, 5 tackle breaks, 1 line break, and an offload. And just as a little 2 votes, best try assist of the year, Marcelo Montoya.
Oh, bloody oath.
136 run meters, 5 tackle breaks, 1 line break, 1 offload, 1 try assist, 3 Cowboys palmed off in a single instance. And it's just like, just a big
Bang,
don't
bang,
argue.
bang.
And this was everything to set up for Ed Corsi's try. But that's got to be your try assist of the year. Just like, ball goes
So
out
far.
the back. I think, was it Johnson and threw a pass out the back, went to ground, scooped up by Montoya, playing in the centres because Wateni Zalesniak came back.
Finally.
Finally, and 4 tries in the New South Wales Cup later.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it was just like, bang, bang, ran over the top of Scott Drinkwater, I think. And then just pops a pass round the corner. Ed Corsi scored. Was a very good looking try.
Yeah. I'd say it's one of the best of these, lead up and, like you said, try assists so far this season.
But yeah, apart from the Cowboys playing garbage at this point, they had opportunities you'd think to win the game, but at the end of it, and really the last try to Dylan Walker, they should not have the ricochet. They should have tried to dive on that ricochet as soon as Johnson kicked it in and got it back.
They should have, but they didn't. But it didn't really matter because they still resulted in a win for them anyway.
Newcastle would have been heartbroken after going down in Golden Point.
Oh,
in
bloody
that
oath
fashion.
they would have been. Bloody oath.
But you have to say, things have leveled up with Taumalolo out of the side, and it honestly puts the pressure on Jeremiah Nene and Ruben Cotter to lead from the front now, which I don't think Nene's been doing at all. I think
No, he hasn't.
I honestly think he's gotten comfortable at this point. This is second year syndrome we're now looking at right here.
Yeah, you said about that at the start of the year. You could have been having second year syndrome after having an excellent rookie season last year.
I mean, he played Origin, he played in a World Cup winning squad, but now it's come all crashing down for Todd Payton. And he's in a hole.
But he's still only young too, don't get me wrong.
This is his 3rd season in charge of the Cowboys, where they've gone from bottom 4 to top 4, but now look like they're not going to even make the top 8.
Still a long way to go.
They had a lot of expectations. I think there's World Cup hangover over here. And they've lost the hunger. I mean, they just don't look hungry anymore.
You said that. You said those exact words last week. But to be honest, the rate that Newcastle's been playing this year, well, not this year, so far in the last few weeks, and compared to the Cowboys,
it's admirable. From Newcastle, it has been very admirable, the performances they've been putting in, both wins, draws, and losses.
Yeah. Newcastle will actually have a chance here.
I think Newcastle go into this as favourites, and rightfully so. I think the Knights, they win this 1-6, I reckon. This will be their first win at the Queensland Country Bank Stadium.
Yeah, I'm going to say Newcastle win this one, but in a slightly bigger margin of 7-12.
No, I don't think it'll be that big a margin, but I do think the Knights will get a win in the QCB for the first time in 3 years.
Yeah.
Now to the first of the Sunday. A ticket, it's the Dolphins once again at home to the Gold Coast Titans at Suncorp Stadium.
Gold Coast, AJ Brimson is amongst the reserves. Jojo Fafita is on the wing, and with Phil Sami going to the centres. Aaron Shop is dropped out. Tom McAley named to play his first game with Khaleesi Haas.
Cleese Haas,
making his first appearance. Joe Vuna and Isaac Farsimali are the two players making way.
Well, Wayne Bennett, he loses one back row just to gain another. Kenny Bromwich ruled out through suspension, but offset by getting Felice Kafusi back for the first time in a month, whilst Jared Wallace is back after being ruled out with concussion, and which pushes JJ Collins to the 18th man.
The big Felice Kafusi half sawing people apart or chopping people in half, he's back.
Yes, the Willie Axe.
Yes. Very much so. But yeah, that's good to have him back. It's starting to look a little bit better for the Dolphins. Yes, they haven't got Kenny Bromwich, but nearly all but a full strength side. Minus Sullivan and Milford.
Well, Milford, I don't think anyone really rated in the Dolphins lineup, and I think you give him a month, and I don't think he's going to get re-signed by Wayne Bennett.
No way.
Katoa,
bloody oath.
If Wayne keeps him honest, he's looking promising.
Oh, yeah. We saw that in the World Cup. But the Dolphins, they were going so well to start the year. They've had a few losses here and there, which was to be expected.
It was to be expected. No one expected them to have already 4 wins under their belt right now.
Exactly. But that's what you get with Wayne Bennett as coach.
And as I've said, 8 games. I reckon at least 8 games they're going to win. Still could be higher, but we've got a long way to go.
We're not even halfway through the season yet, and you're halfway there.
We're coming up on the first third of the season already gone.
Yeah.
On a 27 rounds. The Titans let the Broncos roll them in the second half. Their heads went down the moment after a good period of defending, keeping them to a solitary try. Farnworth makes that 80-meter break off the Tapa'u offload. That's the moment the Broncos just took.
Farnworth's having a really good season too.
And he's joining the Dolphins.
Yes. I have to say, who else is having a really good season, I think, at the Broncos? Jordan Ricky.
I don't agree.
He's been scoring probably at least 1 try a match, if not 1 try every 2 matches.
Kurt Capewell's having a good try-scoring period at the moment. I think he scored 1 in the last 3 at the moment.
Well, there you go. So, yeah, the Broncos are having on nicely there. The Dolphins, they are having on quite nicely too. Yes, they've had the suspensions and injuries just hit them, but you're going to get that. Every club will get that. Coming against the Gold Coast Titans, though, who you had to say are a little bit hot and cold, a little bit.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
But they seem to be playing a lot better footy than what most would have expected.
They went down to the Broncos, as we mentioned, in the NRL's Battle of Brisbane, by a grubber kick that got trapped before it reached the end goal. So it was just a try in it. They knocked over the Cowboys. Or he's in a seesawing affair. The Titans is a very different prospect because which Titans are you going to get on the day?
Exactly right. A competitive one or half a competitive one, meaning like one half of the game it's competitive, like against Brisbane. You know what? I'm going to say Dolphins bounce back and win again 7 points to 12. Especially with Felice Kafusi back, that's going to really help them.
Kafusi has quickly emerged as a spiritual leader at the Dolphins, and I think his presence back in the side offsets the loss of Kenny Bromwich by getting their strong defensive axe back in the side. So yeah, I think the Dolphins 1-6 in a tight affair against the Gold Coast to score their second win against the Queensland rival.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a tight. Well, I did say Dolphins 7-12, but you never know. But having Kafusi back is a big, big plus for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I think that's a big boost to have especially. Now, moving on to the main game on Sunday. The West Tigers, fresh off their loss to the bye, up against the Manly Seagulls. Of course, Manly welcoming back quite a few players as well. Josh Schuster will now start in the halves. Yeah, let's just see if he actually does start again in the halves.
Yeah.
As Cooper Johns dropping back to the bench. Ruben Garrick back in the side as well. So now cult hero Raymond Tuaimalo Vaega drops out. There's no Kelma Tuolangi, so Ethan Bullimore will now start in the back row, with Samuela Faenu off the bench, with Sean Kepi also recalled by Anthony Seibold.
Okay, so there's a few changes yet again at Concord. Well, we know Adam Dewey is gone with his ACL, so Brendan Wakeham is at 5'8".
They're now saying somewhere between a year and 4 months.
Wow, that's a long time. They used to say at least 9 months.
They're anticipating the Tigers, he will not start 2024.
It's usually a 9-month recovery.
Well, they're saying after the surgery, it's ballooned out to 16 to 12.
Wow.
Or 12 to 16, I should say.
Yeah. So Wakeham's over at 5'8". More shuffling in the back line. Jareem Buller making his NRL debut, replacing Charlie Staines, who goes to the wing, with Asu Kupawa going to centres to replace Brent Naden, who's out with a collarbone injury. Thomas Talau is back on the bench. He's joined by Dane Laurie. Sean Bloor and Jake Simpkin are out to Nofaluma amongst the reserves.
Well, Manly, they must be feeling good about themselves at the moment, especially after they downed the Melbourne Storm 18-8 at Brookvale Oval.
Well, who would have seen that one coming?
Well, I didn't. I thought Melbourne were going to turn up completely different.
Well, so did I, but clearly not. That little bit of unsettledness with Munster at fullback, I think, is what would have made a difference there for Melbourne. Yes, Munster is a very capable player, and he has played fullback in the past, but I think that's what might have made a difference.
Well,
a little bit of a weakness
Daly
there.
Cherry Evans read the play perfectly. He saw Munster was up in the line, so 12 minutes in, what does he do when he sees Munster up on the line on like tackle 4? Chips over the top, and then just sends Tom Trbojevic on his way.
Yep.
But my God, what a game we got between these two sides.
On the, what did you say, 12th anniversary of the Battle of Brookvale.
Yep, 12 years ago, the Battle of Brookvale. And it almost spilled over again.
Yeah, it certainly did. But it didn't.
In between the blowout scorelines that favour Melbourne, there's those small instances where Manly managed to get on top.
They were there, just been that little bit of a niggle pain in the backside that they'll just keep hammering them here, there, and everywhere. And that's what I think that's what unsettled Melbourne as well.
Well, yeah, Daly Cherry Evans, I think, masterclass in game management. He scores a try. 141 run meters, 1 try assist, 5 tackle breaks, 1 line break, 3 goal line dropouts, and 5 from 6 goals converted. He just managed that game better than the Melbourne counterparts.
He certainly did.
And there was a best highlight. How many times will you see Justin Olam get rocked like that? Like whacked
not
the
very
way
often.
He whacks anyone else.
I was going to say, he whacks everyone else, not the other way around. That was,
oh my God. That was the first time we've actually seen Justin Olam whacked like that.
And wasn't that a result in a sin binning? Or
No. That was later on. That was later on. Oh,
Sorry.
and then the new cult hero out on the northern beaches,
Andrew.
Raymond Tuaimalo Vaega, making him quite popular on the streets of Melbourne, I definitely think on the Saturday morning.
Yeah, he certainly
Absolutely whacked William Warbrick.
Yeah. No.
There were just big hits lining up left, right, and centre. It was just like, if you managed to stay out for that long in the pouring rain, good on you, because you got your money's worth and then some.
Pouring rain brings out the best footy sometimes. Wet weather footy is the best.
And how many tries were Manly denied in the second half?
Quite a fair few.
You had a knock-on from Aaron Woods in a one-on-one strip.
Yeah.
When Melbourne completely made a meal of that set of 6.
Typical Aaron Woods can't score a try, yeah.
Ethan Bullimore trying to do his best Socceroos impersonation, which is actually saying something because no one would have known the Socceroos would have been in town.
Yeah, pretty much. But that nearly pulled off too. That would have been a solid
And then
try.
Aaron Woods himself, only
can't
for
score a try
Jerome
for-
Hughes to slap the ball into the turf at Brookie.
Yeah. Aaron Woods going to another club, still can't score a try for shit.
It wasn't his fault. I mean, the video referee decided that Jerome Hughes, just for a back palm, had enough grounding on the ball.
See, people would have called that a controversial moment.
But then, of course, everyone was getting whacked at not the good type of whacks we like to see, you know, those big hits, but it was just like dog shots. Like Turbo copped one, Sherry Evans, Cameron Munster. Cameron Munster probably copped all of them.
Probably.
But yeah, it was almost ready for fisticuffs in that game.
But it didn't boil over. Maybe if
Lucky.
maybe if the game was a little bit closer, then things could have happened. But
the fact that Melbourne were held to a single try, all up,
you don't see that very often.
that is very impressive from Manly, what they did.
So they're starting to be a bit more surprised than what people thought as well. People weren't expecting Manly to do this well this earlier in the season.
Yeah.
People were writing them off.
Yep. Aye.
But it's still a long time to go though.
At this rate, on this day, with the Tigers 0-6, only points they get through a bye, Manly practically at the other end of the table, potentially could be back in the finals once again this year.
Could be.
And they unlucky did not beat the Rabbitohs in round 4.
True.
Could have won against Newcastle.
But was a draw.
And then bounced back from a schlubbing against Penrith
what else to be expected?
A miraculous game like that.
Crazy, isn't it?
Manly win.
Crazy World Rugby League.
I just think Manly are in a good frame of mind at the moment. I think Anthony Seibold's loving what's going on at the moment. The Tigers, even if they're pulling guys out of western suburbs to play in the NRL for the first time, even if they're recalling players that might be on the outer with them, it's just not going to work. It just hasn't worked at all this year.
No.
Tigers will lose this game 13-20. It's going to be a big Manly win.
Well, I was going to... But you have to think, though. The Tigers... Yes, they've had a losing record of 0-6. But they narrowly lost against the Bulldogs, which I think shouldn't have happened. They've been there or thereabouts, whoever they played after. Who did they play after that since the Dogs?
They had the bye. They played Parramatta.
Yeah, and then before Parramatta was the Dogs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But even in the other games, they've been kind of coming back a little bit. They haven't been losing. Some games it feels like they've been losing by shitloads, but then other times they've been losing not by much.
They've only had one loss by 1, and they lost by 30.
Yeah.
In the other one, or 32.
But like even against the Dogs, it was a very narrow loss though. But I'm going to say Manly absolutely thrashed them.
Oh, wait, are we talking about Tigers or are we talking about Manly?
No, Tigers.
Oh, no. The Tigers have been absolutely knocked about for shit. The only time they probably played half decent was against the Dogs and against Parramatta. Every other time.
Exactly. But yeah, Manly destroyed the Tigers 21+.
You're calling 21+. All right.
It's the Tigers for crying out loud.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, Anzac Day, a big occasion in the Australian calendar. The Sydney Roosters will line up against St George Illawarra for this one.
The first Anzac Day at the
Mark II Allianz Stadium.
One change for the Dragons, maybe two. Ben Rock, I can't English. Ben Masila is back with Jaden Sewell making way. An early change, although that could change depending on what happens with the board meeting of the Dragons and Anthony Griffin.
Well, Trent Robinson, this was probably the biggest selection surprise you will probably see this week. Sam Walker axed to reserve grade. And for this clash, Luke Keary now lining up at halfback, Joey Manu now lining up at 5'8", which brings Paul Momorowski into the centres, with Angus Crichton and Satili Tupanua both making their way into the side. Crichton into the back row, probably playing right side edge with no Nat Butcher, and Tupanua coming off the bench as well.
That is a bit of a surprise having no Sam Walker.
Well, the word is Trent Robinson was not happy with the way Sam Walker was managing the games against the Storm and the Sharks, so he said probably to his halfback of 51 games of experience, look, take a week off, just set yourself up again, and then we'll see where you go from there.
That's it. Don't think it'll help. I don't think it'll help, though. I don't know.
Why?
I don't know. Well, like you said against the Sharks, when the Sharks had that bye, the byes don't really mean anything. It's just like an extra week off.
Where are you going with this?
I don't know. I'm making a blunder of myself yet again.
Yeah, because we were talking Anzac Day, then you mentioned the bye, just like, what are you, the President of the United States at the moment? You don't know what day of the week it is?
It's a Tuesday.
I'm glad you actually know that. Now, Anzac Day, solemn day of the year, and probably one of the more important days on the Australian calendar. I mean, like, who really cares about AFL Grand Final Day or
Not me.
the Grand Final Day parade? I mean, who honestly cares about that?
Victorians.
Oh, yes. Yeah, those people. But no, yeah, but no, I think this is a time of reflection. I think we've said this over the last couple of years. It's just, we have to remember the men and the women who served, fought, and bled for our freedom. I think we look at half of the shit we see today. We just see some of the... It just depends what it is, whether it's some idiots in the street or on TV that we disagree with, like Buzz Rothfield was just like, okay, yeah, sure, but we wouldn't have this freedom.
Exactly.
If no one stood up and fought to defend it. I mean, it's not about glorifying war. It's not like every battle was a great victory. There were some horrific losses. I mean,
Bloody oath there was.
I mean, the Battle of the Somme. There was massive bloodshed. The trenches of Gallipoli.
But it's like, if all this wasn't... If all this didn't happen, we'll have no...
Long Tan.
Can you shut up for like 2 seconds so I can get a word in? No, I know what you're saying. But if this hadn't happened, we'd have no rugby league today. Wouldn't have the freedom.
It's just...
And no rugby league, well, what else will we be doing killing our time?
God
exactly.
Knows. God knows.
Exactly.
But it's not just that. I just think, no, it's bigger than rugby league. This is a day we just say, thank you.
Pretty much. That's all, yeah. Hit the nail on the head there.
Now, with this game, of course, it can go one of two ways, as we've seen in the past, but the rates St. George Illawarra are going at the moment.
I don't even know.
How could you score the exact same amount of tries? You go down 20-14 against the Canberra Raiders. There's a try difference, yet you cannot kick a goal to save your life.
Zach Lomax needs to either give the kicking tee to someone else, or for heaven forbid, practice that training and do extra hours. Spend a whole day on your day off training at the park, kicking.
But the fact that we had to wait 39 minutes for someone to register a try.
And it happened to be the Dragons.
Yeah, and then Canberra just rolled you after that.
Yeah, pretty much. I think Warren Smith was saying you don't see nil-all this late into a half very often. I thought we were actually going to go into the sheds at a nil-all at half time. which that you see in the soccer, not in the NRL.
I just think it was probably because both teams were playing shockingly.
It was a very scrappy game.
Yes,
I'd say that's the scrappiest game of the year so far.
And yet, the Dragons still invented a new way to lose.
And that's just because of a shit goal. Well, okay, Zach Lomax is a good player, but his goal kicking this year's been shit.
It's quickly becoming apparent. I think Zach Lomax.
I think he's got 4 misses in a row.
He's now really starting to become overrated, don't you think?
He missed all 3 goals against Canberra, plus the last one against the Titans, which was the crucial one that he missed. This is the last 4 goals in a row. Who else could we use? Ben Hunt?
Well, honestly, I think Ben Hunt would be a better option at this point.
Probably.
But the big moments, I mean, your left edge was brittle defensively.
As normal.
Timoko and Sebastian Chris sailed through unimpeded.
Yep.
He just slid on in without a single glove laid on him. You might as well have been Michael Jackson. And if I went any further, then I think the FBI would be bursting this door down.
Yeah.
But yes.
Our defense this year's been shit has.
It was like Michael Jackson moonwalking over a corpse.
Pretty much.
That was called Griffin.
Well, as I said, the D-Day, I thought it was today, but it might be tomorrow. It might be later tonight. But anyway.
And then I think it was hard to find who really stood tall, but I think it's got to be the man who came up with the clutch moments. And that was Hudson Young.
He's got some bloody speed on him. Holy smokes.
136 running meters, 1 tackle break, I'll just say that. 2 offloads, 9 hit-ups, and the one-on-one strip that led to an 80-meter try to win the game for Canberra.
I was going to say, the 136 metres, 80 metres of it was in one hit. He's got some serious speed on him. Seriously. Who was expecting him to run that far?
Well, I don't think anyone would have been expecting him.
No.
Now, the Roosters, they just played bad. They let their discipline out the window once again. Am I still expecting them to eventually click heading into the back end of the year? I still am. This is a big occasion. Usually St. George Illawarra come away with the win, but even I don't think the Dragons look that convincing.
Well, no. Like, Anzac Day, like you said, Dragons generally win, and then the later game in the year, the Roosters tie it up.
It's either 1-1 with it decided on for and against, or the Roosters just win both of them.
Exactly.
That's exactly what I'm calling.
The Dragons never won both of them.
I think Joey Manu's about to put in a man of the match performance on this day at 5'8". I'm going to say the Roosters win 7-12.
I'm going to say Roosters win 13-20. I've got no confidence in the Dragons yet again, considering the last 2 performances, especially with our goal kicking.
And finally, the Melbourne Storm and the New Zealand Warriors from 7 o'clock on
Tuesday.
Yes. Still on Anzac Day from Amy Park, the final game of round 8.
As for the Warriors, Mirate Niokora returns, which pushes Josh Curran to the bench and Tane Tua'upiki.
Tane Tua'upiki, yeah.
Thank you. To the reserves list with Drake Egan cleared to return from his concussion. But the club have chosen to give him another week off.
Well, as for Melbourne, Nick Meaney is back at fullback. So Cameron Munster returns into the halves with Nelson Asofa Solomona named to start in the front row after suffering a knee injury in round 2, which is a very timely return given that Tui Kamakamefa has been suspended.
Yes.
Well, this is probably going to be the closest clash between these two on Anzac Day, to be honest.
To be quite honest with you, this will be the test to see how the Warriors are really performing this season.
Because the last couple of Anzac Days, they have absolutely been cleaned up in this fixture.
True. But it is in Melbourne. Melbourne and Melbourne are pretty hard to beat.
Unless you're the Bulldogs, then you can just walk up, score 5 tries in 50 minutes, and then only can.
Yes, but the Storm weren't full strength.
Melbourne were full strength.
Well, still without Pappy, but still.
As full strength as you can get.
Yeah.
Which, if there's Munster, if there's Grant, and if there's Nelson, which there was, they were full strength.
But the Warriors aren't full strength.
Where are they not? Well,
No Taramo, no Martin.
did it really matter to the Cowboys whether Martin played or not?
Yeah, but the Cowboys haven't been playing as well as Melbourne have been.
Didn't Melbourne just lose again?
Yes, but I was against Manly, who are kind of about the same position in the ladder as Melbourne.
So what argument are you trying to make? You think Melbourne just walk up just because...
No. It's going to be a competitive match, don't get me wrong, but Melbourne and Melbourne is going to be hard to beat. But the Warriors have been playing exceptionally well
How
this
many
year.
times have Melbourne lost at home since last year?
They
They lost to Parramatta. They lost to Canberra twice.
True.
And then they lost to the Dogs just this year on their own.
Yeah, but how many games have they played in Melbourne this year?
Well, this will be their third time.
And they've lost only one of them.
And the other was against the West Tigers. So
But that's the Tigers.
there was really no guarantee they would have lost that one. But can you really look at Melbourne and say convincingly that they win again?
No.
I'm tossing... well...
You know what? This is going to be... If the Warriors win this one, this will be an upset. And this will really show where the Warriors are at sitting this year.
Yeah,
This is a real test for the Warriors.
I think this is a big...
If they beat Melbourne in Melbourne, then the Warriors are serious contenders. If they go on to lose this one, well, it'll be a close loss, I personally think. But it'll show that they would have put up a good fight. Warriors win this one 1-6.
Same margin. But now really thinking about it, Nelson's a big in, so he will really try and look to set the pace early, put a couple of shots on, or maybe even barge over for a try at one point. And Meaney at the back as well. I think they missed Nick Meaney out the back with Munster having to move out there. I think 1-6, as you say, but I think just off the back of Nelson alone, Melbourne win.
Fair enough. The closest game of the round, I think.
And that'll do us for all the NRL content and for this week. But don't go anywhere because we're going to take a short break, refuel, and then we'll be back with all the Betfred Super League content after this short message.